Call the Warrensville Heights City School District Board meeting to call it to attention. And I'll start by calling the order. Mrs. Gator,
Yeah, here.
Mrs. Moomin,
Here.
Mr. Freeman,
Here.
Ms. Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. Roberts.
Here.
Could we all stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, this is a special night for school districts. Every January, before January 15th, we have to have an organizational meeting. And also what makes this a special night is that we actually have 3 board members that are going to be swearing in with the oath of office. And with that, we could proceed to the oath of office.
We're going to go with Mr. Roberts first.
Okay.
Mayor Booker. I'd like to ask Ms. Joyce Roberts to join me. Did you want to use the Bible? Oh, I mean, did you want to use it for him? Did you want to use it for him?
Oh, he has one.
Oh,
He's got it.
oh,
He has mine.
okay. Okay, yeah.
He has it.
All right, before me, Michael Booker, Mayor of the City of the Village of Highland Hills, appears Darren Earl Roberts, upon whose certification of results of the election of November 5th, 2019, was elected to the Warrensville Heights City School Board and District, Cuyahoga County, to execute the following oath of office for full term commencing January 1st, 2020. Roberts, repeat after me. I state your full name. Raise your right hand.
I, Earl Darren Roberts,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as a member of the Board of Education
as a member of the Board of Education
for the Warrensville Heights City School Board and District,
for the Warrensville Heights City School Board and District,
Cuyahoga County,
Cuyahoga County,
Ohio,
Ohio,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
in accordance with the laws now
in accordance with the laws now
in effect and hereafter
in effect and hereafter
to be enacted
to be enacted
during continuance of said office,
during continuance of said office,
and until my successor
and until my successor
is elected and qualified.
is elected and qualified.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Yeah.
The next oath of office will be Mr. Freeman.
It's official. This one?
Absolutely. Since I'm a judge, I like to take a few liberties before I get started, so I hope Mr. Freeman doesn't mind. I'm Judge Gail Williams Byers, and I am absolutely honored to be here in Warrensville with not just Mr. Freeman, but the entire school board. This school district has a special place in my heart, but educators in general have a special place in my heart. And so I wanted to say this, not just to you, Mr. Freeman, but also to President Mitchell and to Dr. Jolly and all of you that are here, and all of the educators, and aspiring educators. I want you to know that the work that you do is so awesomely important. and that often it is forgotten, it is understated, it is not well appreciated. But I want to let you know that there is not a child anywhere that becomes anything without first having a teacher, an educator, someone who cares about what they become pouring into them. And so the work that you do is important because as teachers, as educators, as school board members and superintendents, you're not just anybody. You all are nation builders. You build entire nations by the work that you do, by the sacrifice that you make, by the commitments that you have. And so I stand here with a deep level of pride because I'm grateful to be here to share this moment, because I, just like everyone else who stands on your shoulders, am grateful at the sacrifice you make for public service. You have someone standing with you because you never serve alone. And so that sacrifice is not a single sacrifice, but rather one that is shared throughout communities and through families. And so I stole this moment to say to each of you a solemn and deeply felt thank you. Thank you. And so if you would please place your right hand upon the Bible, your left hand, and raise your right hand. Before me, Gail F. Williams Byers, Judge of the South Euclid Municipal Court, appeared Ray A. Freeman, whom upon certification of results of the election of November 5th, 2019, was elected as the Warrensville Heights City School Board and District, Cuyahoga County, Ohio, to execute the following oath of office for the full term commencing January 1st, 2020. Please repeat after me. I,
Ray
state your
A.
name.
Freeman,
Thank you. Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member of the Board of Education
as a member of the Board of Education
of the Warrensville Heights City School Board
of the Warrensville Heights City School Board
and District,
and District,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my abilities
and in accordance with the laws
and in accordance with the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter to be enacted.
and hereafter to be enacted
During my continuance in said office,
during my continuance in said office,
and until my successor
until my successor
is elected and qualified.
is elected and qualified.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Freeman.
My parents, I'll get them. I got it. I got it.
The next oath of office will be Miss Mitchell.
And isn't it nice for President Mitchell to be flanked by such a beautiful family? As Miss Mitchell to be flanked by such a beautiful family. Again, it is a reminder that no one who raises their hand, puts their self out there, and volunteers to do this does it alone. This is clearly the embodiment of public service, but certainly those who serve with them. Thank you all for being here, and I'm confident that she so much appreciates you all standing with her. No one ever stands alone. If you will please place your left hand and raise your right hand. Thank you. Before me, Gail F. Williams Byers, Judge of the South Euclid Municipal Court, appeared Tracy Mitchell, whom upon certification of results of the election of November 5th, 2019, was elected as the Warrensville Heights City School Board and District, Cuyahoga County, Ohio, to execute the following oath of office for the full term commencing January 1st, 2020. Please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Tracy Mitchell,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a member of the Board of Education
as a member of the Board of Education
of the Warrensville Heights City School Board
of the Warrensville Heights City School Board
and District,
and District,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
Cuyahoga County, Ohio,
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
and in accordance with the laws
and in accordance with the laws
now in effect
now in effect
and hereafter to be enacted
and hereafter to be enacted
during my continuance in said office
during my continuance in said office
and until my successor
and until my successor
is elected and qualified.
is elected and qualified.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Ms.
Yeah.
Thank you, family.
Judge. Judge.
Thank you.
Oh, no. Is that it?
Dr. Hart, do you have
Okay.
blue ink?
Yes.
Blue ink?
Yes.
This is blue ink. This is.
She's got blue.
Thank you kindly.
While the judge is signing those papers, I'm gonna take some liberties as a mayor and say a couple of words. Mama, you done good. And some people in this room understand what I mean by that, because no one expected me and that guy to be doing what we doing right now. Mama, you done good. Superintendent Jolly made a comment last week
That's mine.
that this was a huge week for the new wave rappers. New wave officials now. Some people in this room know what that means. The guy with the camera up there, that's Dave Cool, he's a national recording artist. He's a Warrensville hip hop historian. And if you don't know, me and
take
that young man on the end there had a lot to do with Warrensville hip hop.
That one's for me.
Cleveland hip hop.
I got it.
And for us to be here today is nothing short of amazing. Mama, you done good. I have to leave because I have a council meeting to get to, but I wouldn't have missed this for the world. Mr. Smooth, Darren Earl Roberts, I love you, bro. I love you all. I gotta
You
get
need
out.
to sign it first, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll be out of your way.
Oh, no problem.
The officers.
Okay.
That's fine. Like the close the door.
Oh, we're fine. It's cold. I don't have too much to talk. We gotta have that conversation.
Thank you very much, Mayor Booker and Judge Gail Williams Byers, for doing the oath. It was very, very, very nice. So just to be formal, we'll do the roll call again now after the oath has been administered. Mr. Freeman?
Here.
Mrs. Gator?
Here.
Ms. Mitchell?
Here.
Mrs. Moomin? Here. Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Okay. The next part of this meeting is the election of board president. So what happens is, board members can make nominations, and I would take the notes, and then we would have motions on the table for board president.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Tracy Mitchell for board president.
I second.
Are there any other motions? No further motions? So then I'll do the roll call for Mrs. Gator nominating Ms. Mitchell to be board president. Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0. The next section is the election of board vice president. Again, a board member could make a nomination, and then I could take notes on it, and then a motion would be on the table.
Dr. Rock, I nominate Ray Freeman for Vice President of the school board.
Is there a second or any other motions?
I second.
Any further nominations or motions? Being none, there's a motion on the table for, by Mrs. Moomin nominating Mr. Freeman to be vice president with Ms. Mitchell seconding. And I'll now call the roll. Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Freeman will be the vice president, and Ms. Mitchell will be the president. I can bring the gavel over. Enjoyed my presidency.
Yeah, about 20 minutes, Dr. Rock.
Sure.
Yeah, about 20 minutes, yeah, President.
Did a great job.
Just wanted to take a few minutes to thank this body for allowing me to sit in this seat one more time. We will continue to do our best to make sure that the operations of this district are handled smoothly and efficiently, and to ensure that we do what's right for our students at every opportunity. Thank you. Do you want to say anything?
I'll let Earl go first.
Okay. Do you want to say anything as a new member? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank the actual voters of the Tri-City, Warrensville Heights, Highland Hills, and North Randall for voting for us as a team. 4 years ago, we took on this challenge as a school board to the betterment of the children of the 3 different districts. And as I told people 4 years ago, we're in a good place. But today, we're in a better place with the leadership of our Superintendent, Donald J. Jolly II, and with the financial wizard, Dr. Rock. We're moving this district in the ways that we had a vision of a board. So we had that vision. We're doing that. I'm very proud to sit behind this table with these great, awesome board members, because we're making a difference in children's life every day. So I want to thank you all. Thank you for coming out. You're going to be very, very happy when we get these schools built and what we're doing. So I want to just thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is an important part of the business that we conduct at the beginning of the year, and this is when we set the time and dates of our board meetings. But before I do that, I want to thank all of our guests. We have friends, family, alumni, and distinguished members of our 3 local governments, as well as at the state level. So we are very thankful to have all of you here this evening to celebrate with us as we were sworn or re-sworn into office and as we begin a new year and a new term. So at this time, we're going to go to item 1.7, which is the setting the dates and the time of our board meetings. And we're doing this following our board policy. We sent, Dr. Rock sent on my behalf, the latter part of last week, a calendar with all of our proposed dates for the year. We have included our work session dates, which are the first Wednesday of the month at 6:30, and our regular meetings on the third Wednesday of the month at 6:30. When we spoke to each and every one of you prior to the end of the year, we made sure that you guys were all in accordance with keeping our already established schedule. I also spoke with Mr. Jolly and Dr. Rock. They too agreed that the schedule that we established last year would work. There's 2 things I want to call out. In June and July, we are going to take a bit of a summer break, as we did last year. We'll have our regular meeting on June 24th and on
15.
July 15th. But I see that that's not the third Thursday of the month, as it should be. So is everyone at this time? Oh, yes, it is. I'm sorry, I missed the one. The third Thursday of the month is the 15th, and that will be our regular meeting. And then we will follow what we followed in the past.
It's Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
I'm sorry, I said Thursday. On November, our regular meeting would be November 18th.
Before we move, is it possible we can change the July 15th date?
We sure can, if
Only because I'm not going to be in town.
okay. Is everybody fine with changing that date? Do you have a proposed date, Ms. Barbara?
Can we do Monday, the 13th, or Monday, the 20th?
Is it possible for us to stay on a Wednesday? Could we do
Wednesday?
July 8th or July 22nd?
Let's do July 8th.
Okay. Does that work for everybody?
That doesn't
I'm
work?
maybe going out of town for the 4th, so a little bit later would be better for me if we're not going to do the 15th.
22nd meeting?
Does the 22nd work for you?
That's fine.
Okay.
So July 15th meeting, does that work for you, Mr. Jolly, and you, Dr. Rock?
Yes.
Does that work for you,
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Earl? So if everybody's in accordance, we're going to move the 15th in meeting to July 22nd for the month of July.
And also that works because July has 5 weeks in it, so you'd have a week off, and then we could come back with the
Correct.
regular scheduling the next
Okay.
month.
Then we go back to where we were in November. November and December, we typically take 1 meeting per month because we have a Thanksgiving holiday. We also have a Christmas holiday, so we give ourselves a bit of a holiday. We opted for November 18th for this year because those of us that will be going to the OSBA conference will be coming back in here on the 10th, and we just want to give everybody time to kind of rest their mind. So we recommended November 18th, and again, December 16th, which still falls on our third Wednesday of the month. Again, we shared the calendar with everyone prior to the meeting, so if everyone is in accordance with the dates that we've shared and discussed this evening, with that change for July, moving that to July 22nd, we can move forward. Mr. Jolly, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yes, I would like to add January 15th for a discussion about facilities. So a special meeting on the 15th for a facilities discussion. And then also a board retreat, date for a board retreat. I did do some research, and March 27th, we do have available date if the board chooses to use a past consultant that we use, March 27th. March 27th.
Can I ask which consultant?
The one we used before.
He's right.
Deborah Keys. So I did call and see what dates she had available, but that date is available for her. That's her earliest available date. But again, it's at the board's leisure who they want to use for the board retreat. But I did research her, and she did indicate that that's her first available.
Did you want to share your other thoughts about that particular retreat?
Well, yeah, that retreat, we've used Deborah Keys in the past as a board facilitator of our retreat. I think, just my opinion, the consistency of having the same person might bode well for us. But again, that would be my recommendation. But again, at the leisure of the board, whatever decision you guys make. But I want to bring it to the table. The 27th was her first available date, March 27th.
Does she have another available date?
She has some after March, so I did not ask what dates after March is available, but we can go back and see.
Are we looking at that weekend of March 27th?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I think I would rather do it sometime in April.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause we can't date the one.
Yeah, and then I would just ask that the board is included in what the agenda is going to be, so that we can, be a little bit more prepared
Understood.
to take part in the discussion.
So what I would do is come back with some additional dates from Deborah Keys for April, and then from there, bring it to our special meeting next week on the 15th.
I'd just like to note that we may need to look into the first couple of weeks of May as well, because the majority of the board will be out of town the weekend of April 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th for the National School Board Association Annual Conference. So it gives us 3 weekends in April and possibly the first 2 or 3 in May. So that gives you a little more leeway.
Okay.
So to be further discussed. So if everyone is in agreement with the dates that have been set forth, with the knowledge that we are not going to look at a board retreat on the weekend of March 27th, and instead we'll look at possible dates in April and early May, may I have a motion on the floor to approve item 1.7 in setting these dates and times for our board meetings?
Madam Chair, I move to set the dates for the 2020 school board, the dates proposed.
May I have a second?
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator,
Yes?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on our agenda is item 1.8. We're going to return back to our committee assignments and then renew our membership with OSBA and NSBA. Ohio School Board Association and National School Board Association are organizations that govern school boards in the state of Ohio and then on the national level. So we ensure that we are members of both of these entities so that we can take full participation in the services that they offer us as school boards. So we'll start with, we're going to look at the Committee for Budget and Finance, and I did have a chance to speak with each of the board members to see what their level of interest would be in the stated committees. And Mr. Roberts, you said you would be interested in being the liaison, the board liaison?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, and in that, what happens is we'll work with the superintendent to put the appropriate participants in as committee members, and then the board member does not run the committee, but we simply participate in it, and then we bring reports back to the board and the community on a monthly or quarterly basis, whichever we decide. The one thing that I would note, and want to see if the board is in agreement with me, when we tried to do the Finance Committee last year, we did try to do it in one of our work session meetings. We found that it was a struggle for the community members that were participating with us because they had other commitments on that particular night. And Dr. Rock has done such an amazing job providing the board and the community with updates on what's happening with our finances. So between you, Mr. Roberts, and Dr. Rock, if you all figure out a good date, working with the individuals that we partnered with before, if you all have other individuals that might be good additions to that committee, and then between yourself, Mr. Roberts, and Dr. Rock, you will report back to the board and the community.
Yes.
All righty, next committee would be our policy, and Mimi has done an amazing job over the past managing all of our board updates that we get in from the state of Ohio and OSBA, and then working with the board in reviewing our existing policies to see what we may need to update that are policies that we've established. So I did speak with her, and she did agree with maintaining that role as liaison. Ray has been a liaison in partnership with Dr. Rock and Mr. Jolly, working with our construction partners on the facilities, and I spoke with Ray for continuity to see if he would continue in that space, and he agreed to it. Barbara works very, very closely with Dr. Caver and her team on curriculum and development, and as I shared that with Mr. Jolly, I asked could we set up more of a formal committee, and then Ms. Barbara will be the liaison from the board, continuing in the same capacity that she's done for you in her first term. Community and parental engagement is still, we've made major strides with our elementary schools, but we still need to get more of our middle and high school parents involved. And so I've worked in that position before, I'd like to stay there again as liaison, but again, as we are planning larger events for the district, we will definitely pull in the other school board members to partner with us as we get those off the ground. We have liaisons and board. I don't know if we still need the Black Caucus program, because is the Black Caucus still an entity?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we need to decide who would be that liaison.
I could do that, madam. Oh, I'm
Hold
sorry.
on.
So we're all members of Black
Right.
Caucus,
So
though.
do we need to
So
do
we
that?
really don't need a
I didn't think
liaison
so.
unless, I mean, we really don't need a liaison.
So we are, as Mimi stated, we are members of this. So we will just do what we've been doing in the past and going to the meetings as we can. We have a legislative liaison that works closely with the state of Ohio and OSBA. Mimi has also managed that role very well in the past. She agreed to keep that for us over this year. Then we have two appointees. I'm sorry, because this is a duplicate, the OSBA legislative liaison. We have delegates to OSBA annual conference. Mimi, you've done this in the past. Did you want to continue to be that delegate?
So it's part of the legislative liaison duties, I think.
Awesome. And then we had a board member who was asked by OSBA to participate in a newly created role, OSBA Ambassador for Public Education, and that's Millicent Gator, we call her Mimi. So she will serve in that capacity as well. And then the treasurer is also authorized to complete all of our necessary paperwork to be executed and fees submitted to both OSBA and NSBA for this school year, this year. So at this time, board, can we have a motion on the floor to approve these assignments?
Madam Chair, we just missed one other one.
Which one?
Dr. Rock, was it the student liaison? What's the one that I sent you?
Oh, yes, student liaison at OSBA.
And what is that role? Because I don't recall us doing that.
I think they handle like the student achievement down at Capitol Conference.
Do we have someone that's student liaison? I don't think we do.
I don't
We had
think- I
someone
think
that
a
was
former
filling the
member with
position
talent,
before.
Hold on, too.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr.
We had a
Rock.
board member that was filling the position before, but it never really was appointed.
Understood. So we need to have a board member. Do we know what that role entails?
I don't think I'm sorry.
I don't know what the role entails. Dr. Rock, Mr. Freeman?
We could pull the information.
I can give you a little bit of it. What it does is actually has a person in the district who works directly with OSBA, and they have a person there, and the opportunities come to them, and then that person will share to the board what's available to highlight of our scholars in the district.
So I guess my question, a little bit of pushback on that, I think that should be our superintendent, because he has more of a pulse with his team on who should, from which of the schools, which of the clubs and stuff should participate in the annual conference. Because in the past, Mr. Jolly has always fed into and given input into what students or what student organizations would go and participate at OSBA.
But with this request, they're requesting a board member. I mean, they don't want a suit, but
Who did it come from? Rick Lewis?
it came from, Dr. Rock, I sent it to you. Do you still have?
SBA.
Can we all get that?
Because
And,
they didn't send
Yeah.
it. I'm not sure why it didn't come to the entire board.
and I'd kind of like to see it. So
Right.
maybe we could appoint someone at the next meeting, give us an opportunity to
That's
review
fine.
Maybe the
it,
22nd meeting, because the 15th is dedicated to the special conversation.
whichever one.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that at the,
I'll try to find the email I sent it to you that
please,
came last week.
because that should have come to all of us. But thank you for bringing it to our
No
attendance.
problem.
So with the individuals and the committees and liaisons and appointees that were listed, understanding that we're going to look into the student liaison on the January 22nd meeting, can I have a motion on the floor to approve those that were listed?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the committee assignments and to join OSBA and NSBA.
I'd second that.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Board, is there any additional, discussion on this topic?
Just, you had mentioned before about us bringing reports back, whether it was weekly or quarterly, monthly or quarterly. If the meetings occur monthly, could we ask that after the meeting, the next meeting, that board member provide a report?
We sure can.
Okay, all right, that's all I have.
Okay. If not, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. All right, next on our agenda is 1.9, waiver of the reading of the minutes. This is done in accordance with Section 3313.26 of the Ohio Revised Code, and it allows our Board of Education to waive the reading of the minutes of the preceding meetings as long as the requirements of cited section ORC are met. We do this, and so this is just us agreeing as a board to waive the reading of the minutes at each of our board meetings. I don't think that requires a vote, does it? It does, okay. Then we need a motion on the floor, please, for the approval of 1.9.
Madam Chair, I move 1.9 waiver of the reading of the minutes.
A second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any additional discussion? Dr. Rock, hearing none, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin? Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. We need a motion on the floor for item 1.10 for our board service fund. The rationale for this one is to approve the service fund for board members following Ohio Revised Code 3315.15 for expenses accrued at standard conferences at $20,000 for the year. And then we cite BOA 6231, 0154, and 0147. These are Board of Education policies at a maximum of $4,000 per board member for reimbursable expenses for the calendar year for 2020.
2020.
It's a typo. The board designates and approves the following conferences as standard conferences that we typically attend. This is CUBE, NSBA Annual Conference, OSBA Board Leadership Institute, OSBA Capital Conference, and that's it. That was a typo. So can we have a motion on the floor to discuss this particular item? Because I think we're going to probably have discussion on the latter portion of this.
You want a motion or?
Please.
Madam Chair, I move item 1.10, a board service fund.
Can I have a second? Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Now the floor is up for open for discussion.
So I see we have Council of Great City Schools on. Are we leaving that one on? You started to say it and then you didn't.
Yeah, it was a typo. It was supposed to come off.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So the ones that we're kind of looking at the blanket approval are the ones we all go to anyway. CUBE, NSBA, OSBA's two conferences for Board Leadership Institute and our Capital Conference in the month of November.
NAPSI is on there too?
No, that one
Mine?
did get pulled off.
It's on mine.
Oh, you know what? It's supposed to be NSBA. So please, if you all will
Oh,
make that.
okay. So it's just the ones that we are members of at this time? Okay.
So if we can amend that initial motion to correct NAPSI and have it be read as NSBA instead, that would be appreciated.
And it still applies, Madam Chair. Last year, I know you guys did the research to show that the conferences that we typically attend comes underneath the $4,000? Okay,
Well underneath.
okay. Yep.
So it gives us room, if we choose to go to other conferences, to be able to travel and have our reimbursable expenses. Dr. Rock, you still are keeping that special accounting system?
Yes.
That covers just our conferences individually?
Yes.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
it
'Cause
starts
that
up,
was-
it starts up again now.
Yeah.
It goes on the calendar basis.
Okay, that was a good help. So I do have one question. You were including, because we pay for NSBA in November-ish in the prior year, will you now include that conference registration and all those associated costs in the calendar year that we're attending NAPSI? So it's an easier understanding for the board members for
We can
accounting
do
purposes?
that if you want that
Okay.
that way.
Is everybody in agreement with that? Because I think it helps us all better understand what's being spent in a calendar year versus trying to go back to the previous year and figure out what should be applied from NSBA into the next year.
In other words, if the conference was attended during the year 2020, then we want to see all of the expenses.
Correct.
I'm in agreement.
Yep. So that would be appreciated. Dr. Rock, thank you.
Madam Chair, is anyone attending, what is the big one that goes to Washington, D.C.? Equity and Advocacy?
We voted on that in December.
Okay.
Ray's going. He's going to the.
I'm just going to the equity
Equity
symposium.
portion.
I'm not going to the advocacy.
All right,
I'm
but
not
that's through, is that through CUBE, though?
No, that's through the National School Board Association. It's separate.
But, so you're not going as a member of CUBE, you're going on behalf of the district, is that correct?
I'm going as a member of CUBE to equity
what
symposium.
I was
No, I'm sorry, yeah, that's
The
my
one
obligation.
conference is, we go as individual, I'm sorry to
Correct.
cut you off, as individual board members, as our previous board member used to do every year.
Right.
Mr. Freeman goes as CUBE, a CUBE member of CUBE for equity. Now, next year, I would like a board member to go each year, but I would love it if we could go and all get to experience it, because we've never been able to go in the past. So just something for us to think about when it's time to register for that, for the 2020 year.
And just to add on that, Madam Chair, the bigger thing with the Advocacy Institute, you do get to meet your local congresswoman. So, I mean, last year alone, me and the former board member, we went to see Marsha Fudge, Sherry Brown, Al Green from Texas. So, I mean, you get that, but the Monday, you're just there doing study work. But, yeah, I mean, I didn't find it being that helpful to me, but that's me.
So if there's no further discussion, we do need to amend that motion to remove NAPSI and replace it with NSBA. And then once that's done, Dr. Rock, we can take a roll call for the vote.
Madam Chair, I'd like to recall the 1.10 Board Service Fund, and with the correction of the NASB Annual Conference being NSBA.
A second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll? Did you need to?
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin, Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. And then on item 1.11, board travel, professional development for conferences. And this is where we wanted to discuss and vote for travel to our professional development conferences requiring board approval prior to registration and reservations. Now, last year, we did amend our policy that spoke to this, so it was really clear that before each board member traveled to any conference, that we had to share it at a board meeting, and then vote and have it approved by the board before Dr. Rock and his team could schedule flights, register for us for the conference, or any other pre-conference expenses that had to take place. And we just want to make sure that that's firmly in place for the 2020 school years, 2020 year as well.
Yes.
So is everyone in agreement with maintaining that?
Yes.
All right, if we can have a motion on the floor to approve item 1.11, that would be great.
Madam Chair, I move for item 1.11, Board Travel Professional Development Conferences.
May I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Dr. Rock, is there any further discussion? If not, can you?
Yes, can I just add that if you could keep me as the primary contact,
Yes, okay.
that keeps us all on the same page.
Awesome.
So do not go to the secretary. then?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, go to me, because I may delegate it, I may do it myself.
Okay, that's fair.
And this way, it keeps us all on the same page.
Did everybody hear that? If there's conferences, but they'll come before the board first, because we'll have to approve them. And
Yes.
then you will have the notes of what's approved, what's not approved, and they can move forward with the reservations.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for adding that caveat. Can we please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. All right, we are now under our areas for consent approval, and I don't know how they got missed. If we could have a motion on the floor for the approval of standard authorizations for superintendent and treasurer for items